Hi everyone. Welcome back to another lesson of Guitar Lessons in Pajamas. I'm your host, Anthony, and we're going to be talking about some basic music theories to help you understand what you can do with chords. If you don't want to watch this lesson, that's fine. We're going to show you how to make chords in the next lesson, regardless of the music theory part. But if you really want to know how to use these chords, pay attention to this lesson. So go find yourself some comfortable pajamas, and I'll see you back here in a few minutes. Welcome back. I hope you found yourself some really comfortable pajamas. Let's talk about the strings on the guitar. Not mentioned in my previous lesson, but the guitar has 6 strings. They are numbered 1 through 6, going from the bottom up. Each one of these strings has a specific name or a note associated with it. And a note is just a sound, like that is an E note, for example. Each one of those notes is assigned a letter from the alphabet between A and G. And in between each letters are little half steps or stops, I guess, if you wanted to look at them. Like every inch has a half inch, every note has like a half note in between the two pitches. So a half inch would look like 1 fret on the guitar. Think of it as a big old number line. So I've got an E here, and then it goes to an F, because that is an example of the notes that have only just a half step between them. There are only 2 of these. So between E and F is only a half step. Between B and C is a half step. Every other one has a sharp or a flat between them. So for example, F has an F sharp, and then from the sharp it goes to the next note, which is a G. You could also say that there is a pitch that is a half step lower than G, and we call that a flat if it's on the lower side. But that could be either the F sharp or the G flat right there, because we had an F, F sharp, or G flat, and then we have a G, and we can go half step lower and get a G flat. So that's kind of how notes work. So we got E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A, and the alphabet starts over. Notice as we keep going through the alphabet, the pitch gets higher. And we can do this all on one string. A sharp, B, remember, half step equals C, between B and C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E. Yeah, we can go at this all day. It's going to be fun to do it backwards. So we got E, E flat, D, right there, and then we got a D flat, C, B, B flat, A flat, G, G flat, F, E. And that's how notes work. We can do this anywhere on the guitar. For example, if we wanted to just work with this A string here, then we could go A sharp, or B flat, B, remember the half step between B and C, C, C sharp, D, so on and so forth. You could go forwards and backwards. It just depends on what chords you're playing, whether a note will work or not. So let's talk about how a chord works. So a chord is based off of something called a scale. And a scale is just 8 successive notes in between an octave. And an octave is just the difference between this pitch right here or a higher pitch. But let's say that an octave is this G note right here to that G note, or this G note, come on string, this G note to that G note. Same note, higher pitch, same note, lower pitch, an octave. So a scale fits right in between those notes, and there are many different scales, but we're going to be working with the major scale today. So Let's start off with the easiest major scale, which is a C major scale. And you can play that starting on this C note on the A string. So we have C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. And you can go back down too. That's what a major scale sounds like. If you want to play the individual notes of a C chord, you can do that too. And I just played a 3 notes, which construct a C chord, C major chord, I should say. And if I wanted to play that as a chord, all 3 notes would be played at the same time. So I got my C, E, and a G. C, E, G. And I could just play those 3 strings right there, or I could utilize the rest of the strings, which is what everybody else does. We're still playing the same 3 notes for the chord. We're using all the strings, and these are called open chords, and they sound lovely. So, what are the 3 notes in a C chord? We got C, E, G, which is the first note of that C scale, the 3rd note, and the 5th note of that scale. 1, 3, 5, 3, 1. Where else can I find those on open strings? Well, I know that that is an open E, but that one is lower in pitch than the root note of our chord here that we're going to start on right there. So, let's, instead of doing that, there's 2 ways you can do it. You can omit playing this E string, or you can add in a the 5th. The 5th will sound pretty decent in this case, which is that G note right there. Because remember, we have C, E, G. We got a G note right there. So let's start off with our ring finger on the 3rd fret of the A string, or the 3rd fret of the 5th string. And that's our root note, which is the C, which defines the actual chord, because it's based on the scale. Next we got an E note, which is on the 2nd fret of the D string or the 4th string, and we'll play both of those at the same time with just the A and the D string. We know that that G string right there, the 3rd string, is our 5th note in the scale, so we can just play that. Now what else? We got a B string here. If I go a half step up from the B, I've got a C. So now I've got, that starts to sound a little bit more full. You know what else I can do? I've got an E note here. Let's add the octave to that. The open E string. And I'm using my thumb here to mute the upper E string, the 6th string there. Alright. That is how I have constructed a chord, just out of knowing the scale. Remember, C, E, G, C, E. I hope that was over-explained enough for you to understand it. Let's take a look at how we actually play the chords.